Okay, alright. I'm not gonna bother with how my keyboard is doing there, because it's just being annoying. Boom, there we go, main view. Alright. Hello, everybody. How are you guys? I hope you guys are all doing fantastic today. Yep, so last time we were on here, last time we were jumping into stream, we did a lot of world building for the realm of Primordial Earth. Yeah. Sorry about all the typos in chat and there and everything. I've been working on trying to get a stream PC set up, and this is my main keyboard for that machine, and so it sometimes has issues with not doing double characters or such. So I believe the word "all" got cut off as well. Yeah, and I'll probably run down to a thrift store nearby, grab a cheap keyboard for like $1 or $2 and pick that up or something along those lines. Either way, one way or another, happy to have you guys, but we're going to be jumping right on, well, hopefully right on into picking up where we left off, talking about the realm of Primordial Earth, the Titan that lives there, the dinosaurs that call the land home, the petrified wastes, and then the wizards who are trapped there, and the golems they create to survive, and who now take care of the planet. A lot of stuff there. So here, let's go ahead and work backwards for just a little bit here. So creatures and inhabitants. This is what we wrote up last time after discussing a lot of the world building and lore for this land. Terraneus is home to a wide variety of species and populations. Foremost among them are the large terrestrial saurian creatures. The more herbivorous populations find themselves frequenting the jungles and plains of the realm of Primordial Earth, while many of the others predate upon them or scavenge the petrified waste created by the tyrant here. So we're going to get to actually the name of the Titan and have, a title for them. We might actually scroll down and end up seeing some of the stuff I was working on. But while clever in their own right, the Saurians of Terraneus exist beneath the eye of the tyrant, as they do not construct civilizations that could meaningfully oppose its rule. For the Saurians, their day-to-day lives primarily involve hunting for sustenance and safety, new watering holes, new jungles, foliage, or creatures to consume, caves to rest in, away from predators and conniving survivors trapped upon the planet's surface. As the lands of Terraneus are home to a rich supply of minerals and materials rare to the other realms, it has drawn the attention of mages, innovators, and explorers interested in claiming the resources needed for their spells and creations. On many occasions, these adventurers have found themselves trapped and forgotten upon the surface of Terraneus. In order to survive the harsh landscape and fight back against the creatures interested in consuming them, many of the survivors who stay on the realm have turned to constructing golems to assist in their survival. A process made easier due to the availability of essential materials on the plane. Golems typically constructed upon the prime material planes lack the autonomy and ingenuity of those created on Terraneus, as these traits are considered imperative to the adventurers creating them to aid in survival. These traits similarly have helped the golems continue to survive on their own and build community with one another both after the expiration of their creators and in the face of the tyrant that occasionally rends the world to stone. So regions and environments. We have three kind of primary areas here. That being kind of the green regions here. We don't have a... we're going to have a more proper kind of discussion there about kind of what we call this region, so we just don't have it as the green regions. Then we have the Petrified Wastes and City of Tunnels, and then the Tyrant's Throne. I believe we're going to be changing a lot to that too. Just Titan, but once again, we're going to come to that when we talk about the name. So, the green regions here. The jungles, plains, and other vibrant landscapes of Terraneus are some of its most populated, both by... Sorry, just checking my microphone there. Both by the humanoids who survive on the land and its resources, and the Saurians who search for food and nesting grounds. Oh, mic audio is a bit low. Thank you. I must have bumped that. Is okay. Hopefully, is that a bit better there? I'm still trying to figure out a little bit of audio balancing with having the stream PC getting set up on the side there. Okay, let me see if there is... Actually, hang on, I can bump that up in my mixer here. Well, there we go. That might help out a bit there, I hope. Within these areas, scholarly beings are known to leave marks for personal reference. That's good now, yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome. Also, happy to see you again, Druids Union. And expected threats in the general vicinity. These marks are commonly laid in the explorer's common tongue or their typical lingua arcana. These wilder portions of the planet are home to the most survivor communities. We don't need the word the most there. To most survivor communities, given the lack of cover in the petrified forests and wastes, and the watchful eye of the tyrant upon those regions. Golems constructed in the plains, grasslands, and jungle regions of Terraneus are often built as tools of camouflage and stealthy hunters. There are those designed similar to terrain features to quickly provide cover and break line of sight with predators in the vicinity, and those who capably move through the region in pursuit of resources and huntable saurians desirable by their creator. So, that is what we've got as far as kind of the Greenlands and the overall creatures of this world. So we can now talk about the Petrified Wastes here, what we're calling the City of Tunnels here, but more a network of tunnels that exist, if in part beneath several of the different regions on this planet, where golems and smaller saurians might even have cohabitating communities. We also are going to be talking about the Tyrant's Throne and a lot more of its identity as a creature and like an environmental manipulator in its own right. Actually, hang on. I should put the chat on screen here. Boom. There we go. Glad I remembered to do that before I forgot. No, I'll keep the discussion topic from last time up there as well, for folks who passing through. Okay. Okay, alright. So, when last we left off, when talking about Petrified Wastes and the City of Tunnels here, we were discussing, the idea of dust seas, where lands of former life had been turned to stone, eroded or rent into dust. Hallowed places for mortal beings, but perhaps maybe even a bit more religious for the golems here, as it is a land of stone and clay that can be used to create and repair and heal their constructed forms. Underground regions primarily originate in these ways here. Yeah, okay. This is just what we were talking about before. Okay, so what I've got on the right here is just my information on the elemental plane of water that I'm just using as kind of a reference for tone for nature, for just kind of discussion points. Here, so yeah, everything that is, going to be changed and manipulated, it's all going to be on the left here. Actually, I can probably just throw that. Right about there is probably fine. Make this a little bit bigger here so it shows up on stream better. There we go. That should be useful. At least look nice there. Okay. Sorry, I had a bot in the chat there, and it just looks like it's spam bots. Cool. Okay. So, let's go ahead and just kind of jump on into it here. Okay. Is it a majority of the land that is green here? I think yes. Not really sure how dinos fit into my campaign, to be honest. Most of the reptilian wildlife would be dragons or giant thorny lizards, but there is one group that could relate. It would be a loose relation to dinosaurs at best. Yes, yeah. That's kind of been my big question mark when just kind of creating dinosaurs and like finding a place for them, just because it's very much tied to Earth in history and just like Earth and evolutionary history as like these different eras. And so having them kind of in the modern day as far as the setting feels anachronistic just because of our own cultural special bias and our own divorcement, our own divorcing of time from them in our world. So yeah, just I think it's cool. Yeah, I'm trying to. So that's why I was trying to find a home, because I do want there to be dinosaurs in the fantasy world. I like the idea of having them there, but like living alongside people on the world is it just feels much more of a sci-fi concept to me than a fantasy concept. And so having another world, having a realm of primordial Earth, and then having that be the home plane of the dinosaurs, I feel like that fits the fantasy themes that I'm trying to evoke with my setting a little bit. But yeah, reptilian wildlife, dragons, giant thorny lizards, that all very much is a lot of what I've world built for kind of the prime material plane. But yeah. Jungles, grasslands. Um, the dominant species of is lizard folk, though, so sword traits wouldn't be unheard of. Gotcha. Okay. I, you know, that I think that is really cool. I've never actually that's trying to cut myself off there before I say. I was going to say I've never done a world where lizard folk were kind of the main primary species, and then actually I kind of have one that's a little bit like that. But yeah, I think that's a really cool idea for a campaign setting. And kelp film. Many have been okay. So, while the majority of Terranais is covered in green, jungles, grasslands, mossy peaks, and kelp-filled oceans, many other lands have been the desert for the most part. So they are just better suited to the general lack of water and overbearing heat. Yup. Yeah, the one world I was thinking of that I did do a little bit with that has a lot of lizard folk is my version of the elemental plane of air. Now, a lot of my world building there cribs a lot from Brandon Sanderson's book, The Sunlit Man, where the land is this sort of wasteland, very much desert, and so and the sun is just this kind of oppressive force of heat. And so a lot of the world is built on skyships and colonies that are constantly moving to the other side of the world to stay in the darkness, to stay in the shadows. And so while this world is going to be kind of a home for celestials as one type of creature that is there, the other is a group of kind of saurian type folks called the Dilettanti, who have different sails that are both built into their biology and crafted as a sort of kind of steampunk arcana that will allow them to throw out large sails and not quite parachutes or something like that, but something to catch the wind and like move them in directions with the breeze so that they can jump onto and off of these different large floating vessels, escaping the heat of the sun, and smoke rising up from the ground with with continental volcanism and that sort of thing. So you have lots of updrafts and such. I think that's I've run like a session there, so I don't know a ton about that world, but like it was a lot of fun, and the player that world ended up being more or less specifically for seemed to quite enjoy it. Many of the other lanes have been turned to stone and left desolate and gray due to the petrifying breath of the Titan. So, in talking about our Titan here, one of the things that matters to me greatly is a lot of the name. Just like what the name is in a common tongue, what that name kind of directly translates to as far as like what the quote-unquote common language of the Primordial plane and its anthropologists and researchers would understand, and then kind of a general name that civilians would know of if they know of the other worlds and such. And so a lot of this was just kind of very much before stream, was looking into the etymology of some of the different Toho kaiju, so like Godzilla, Mothra, but specifically King Ghidorah, because that is my that is currently my stand-in for how this creature is in this world. Not necessarily fully on appearance, but a good amount there. And then I pulled up my multi-translator Google Doc here, and I was just plugging in different keywords here so that I could get a lot of different sounds built together, and I ended up with the current title, so like title in the language of specifically I would say the Golems, the kind of independent Golems of Terranus, as Do Tarakatu, which would translate to Stone Dragon Warden. But a lot of kind of planar scholars and researchers would probably just call this creature the Titan of Terranus, or the Tyrant. So yeah, I'm going to try and start weaving some of those names into here. Of the Tyrant. So these petrified wastes typically they typically span around the Titan's nest. Not typically, they do. They're not really growing back. Tyrant's Throne. A large mountain. A large mountain outcropping near the planet's what? It's not really near the equator. I'd imagine that this is sort of around, like at least at a latitude similar to like the Himalayas. Large mountainous outcropping. Between subcontinents, or something along those lines. I'm very much overthinking the actual geology and plate tectonics here. Between some of Terranus' subcontinent. There we go. We don't need to talk a lot about that because that's going to be what we discuss in the next section here, the Titan's Throne. The Tyrant's Throne. Once again, those two can be pretty much interchangeable there. So, let's see here. Make sure we have our spaces in. So, are by several common traits. Fog of dust, ash that hangs over the region. The barren gray lands, full of trees that longer grow or bloom. And the petrified wastes, petrified remains of adventurers caught in we don't need to say petrified, the eroding. These lands are often home to many scavengers. Large hoping to pick off and continue when you pick off portions of unpetrified victims and weaker creatures unsuspecting of the dangers of the waste. Okay, here let's read this back, see if it makes sense. While the majority of Terraneus is covered in green, jungles, grasslands, mossy peaks, and kelp-filled oceans, many other lands have been turned to stone and left desolate and gray due to the petrifying breath of the tyrant. These petrified wastes. I don't want to use petrified like that close to each other. These stony wastes surround the tyrant's throne, a large mountainous outcropping between some of Terraneus' subcontinents, and extend further out creatures attempted to further out to regions and do that would challenge the tyrant's rule. Challenge the tyrant's rule. There we go. These petrified regions are known by several common traits. A fog of dust and ash that hangs over the region. Let's not use region that closely. It's over. We could just say wastes here again. Right? Man, we're using a lot of similar words here. A thick fog of dust and ash that hangs over the I guess we'll leave region there right now because I'm not thinking of an applicable and actionable synonym at this moment. But that's one of those is probably going to die before the book makes it to publication. The barren gray lands full of trees that no longer grow or bloom, and the eroding remains of adventurers caught in the tyrant's sight. These lands are often home to large carnivorous saurians and scavengers, hoping to pick off portions of unpetrified meat. Not victims, meat. That's how they would consider it. And weaker creatures unsuspecting of the dangers of the wastes. There we go. Okay, so we've got a good start here. So let's go ahead and start talking about the creatures that will and can survive here. The Golems of Tyranneus find themselves in would be an awkward position where their creators will freeze and die as stone in here, but they will not. Is that an awkward position, or the So it's in the complicated position where their creators, mortal, frail, will succumb to the wastes far easier than their stony constructs and their stony protectors. Many a tribe and caravan have entered a petrified forest only for the golems to walk out on the other side. said. Okay, so we have now kind of touched on the immutability of form there. We have it loosely discusses, or it loosely references their inability to be petrified. So let's go ahead and talk about, I think this is where we bring in the dust seas. At the center of wastes. Perhaps once where water flowed are the dust seas. Large regions of flowing clay, mud, and stone, where the crumbling remains of adventurers where the crumbling remains of life are broken down and wash over the land. For adventurers trapped on Terraneus, these stony waters are often a humbling sight. Resting places for companions lost to the planet, and a sign of what might become of them should they be unable to make it to escape. Should they unable to escape the realm. For the golems and these seas of dust are almost a religious sight. As the stone flows freely, they can collect and apply to themselves to heal wounds, to new forms, and to create new artificial life. Well, no, at this point, I don't think it's artificial. At this point, I don't think it's going to create new golems. To form. Okay. To themselves to heal wounds. Here, let's once again step back, read it over again. At the center of these wastes, perhaps once where water flowed. Perhaps where water once flowed are the dust seas, large regions of flowing clay, mud, and stone, where the crumbling remains of life are broken down and wash over the land. For adventurers trapped on Tyranneus, these stony waters are often a humbling, not humping, are often a humbling sight, the final resting places for companions lost to the planet, and a sign of what might become of them should they be unable to escape the realm. For the golems, on the other hand, these seas of dust are almost a religious sight. As the stone flows freely, they can collect and apply it to themselves to heal wounds, to craft new forms, and to form new life and new golems. Not form, to craft new life. Craft new life as their creators once did. There we go. There we go. Oh no, sorry, you're all good. Sorry, I just saw you. Oh, actually, it's not. But I need to chat for a moment. What aspect are we working on? We are currently going through the petrified wastes here. We're just about to hit the city of tunnels. So right now, all of what we've been doing is just kind of highlighting this sort of region on the planet here. Okay. It's the stone floor. So, next area here is going to be the City of Tunnels. So the City of Tunnels is kind of... It's almost neutral. Like, it's not part of the green and the grasslands there. It's not necessarily a part of these wastes, but I think we're going to put it here because these dust seas have such a significance to the golems that if they are going to have a settlement, if they're going to have the closest thing that they can to a permanent civilization here, it's probably going to be near them, and since those only exist here in these petrified lands, ergo, this is where it would be here. So I think if we do a subheading here, that might be useful. Just so that way we can have kind of a hard cut in between the discussion on the dust seas and then the discussion on the actual settlements there. Alongside many of the dust seas and lakes the dust seas of Tyranneus's petrified wastes are holes and entrances into a vast subterranean network. Network of tunnels. These entrances will lead the curious to underground caverns covered in the riches known, riches indicative of Tyranneus, riches known of Tyranneus, the riches characteristic of these gemstones, precious metals, however, are of lesser concern to those who find home peace in these environments. Humanoids have seen these lands before. They are primarily operated and housing, primarily operated and just really operate. What's the word? Inhabited, primarily inhabited. Have creators or broken free to find their own paths. The city of tunnels gets its name from the myriad branching pathways that that snake beneath. They don't snake. That they across the lands across the continents of Tyranneus, Let's see here. Protect the city. Usually have maps of its many openings carved into their stony visages. Carved into their stony visages or upon their their weapons, shields. They don't really. Would they necessarily have any of that? Yeah, no. Let's leave that part out. We'll talk about golem mechanics later. But I think one thing that's going to be pretty common in that is that, like, if you're wielding a shield, you can just have that shield kind of be a part of you. So it will carry the same benefits as as an item shield, but you'll learn different enchantments and runes to carve upon the part of you that you designate as the shield, and so it becomes the sort of reforming of the golem itself, rather than picking up and equipping new items. And so there probably is going to be I'm not sure about how to mechanically do it, but a way to have difficulty in dropping items, or some sort of thing like that, because it would become a part of them. Alongside runes showing the cities, showing their positions within the city's hierarchy. Okay, so how would a city of tunnels organize? I mean, I feel like it would probably be very roles forward, where you have a building clan, or not, maybe not clan, a building class. Class being 100% the wrong word here, but like a group of builders, a group of protectors, a group of probably not merchants, but I feel like golems could be part of a caste system, where different members of different castes mold their bodies to better suit their needs, i.e. warriors have rune cannons, shields embossed in their arms. Architects may be melded with hammers, chisels, or even have more than 2 arms. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm getting towards here. Architects Guild, absolutely, is probably what I'll call that there. We'll have warriors, protectors, defenders, that sort of thing. Okay, so within the city, golems divide themselves based on assignment and drive. Those who favor furthering the construction of the city, architects, those who defend and guide, defenders, the navigators, the protectors. I do like navigators. Those who defend and guide, the navigators, because they're going to be navigating all of these tunnels. And those who, once again, a rule of threes here I like. So defend and guide, the navigators are, that's kind of our warrior cast. We have our building cast. We have our and then like a cultivation, like ones who stay behind to, and those who cultivate society and help to cultivate society. Tending to the sick, no, not necessarily the sick, tending to the injured. Let's see here, what would be a word? So we've got the architects, the navigators, and the keepers. Cultivate society, and learn healing the injured, and learning the magics and sciences of their creators. There we go. So we've got a warrior kind of cast, we've got a growth-oriented cast, and we've got a builders. Many of the city's architects bear hammers and chisels, if the city's artisanal, will forge their hands into hammers and chisels, while the builders and miners often have multiple arms, drills, arms, picks, multiple arms, picks, and implements of what? And implements of greater and further development. No, not development. Construction. Implements of efficient construction. So then we can just kind of copy this here, since that's now out of place. Here, let's just we're gonna format this kind of into different paragraphs here, but we'll concatenate and bring it all back up together normally. The golems who protect the city usually have maps of its many openings carved into their stony visages, alongside runes showing their positions within the city's hierarchy. They also often brandish shields, weapons, as arms. We don't necessarily need to say always as arms. We brandish shields and weapons forged into their as component pieces. Now the more militant often brandish shields and weapons, while others carry tools and like surveying equipment here, navigation. Others carry tools. Surveying and surveying and research through navigation. We don't necessarily need. We don't need to say surveying. We can say observation. Research. Let's see here. Then we have our Keeper's Guild here. Golems with a penchant for the arcane and the sciences of the penchant for the arcane sciences. They were the first to harness the dust seas as a tool for health and as a tool for restoration. Ones known to focus runes and left behind by edges. These golems are the No, we don't want to say these golems are the intellectuals of their society, just because that's going to necessarily kind of indicate... I mean... These golems are also the keepers of local flora and fauna kept in the city. Plants that shed, plants that illuminate, caverns, plants that decorate and illuminate, and the smaller saurians going to live alongside smaller saurians willing to live peacefully amongst the tunnels. So yeah, there we go. We've got our pet dinosaurs. So here, let's go ahead and read this back. Once again, just kind of do some proofreading, do some editing there. Okay, so the city of Tunnels gets its name from the myriad branching pathways that cross the continents of Terraneus away from the tyrant's eyes. Within the cities, golems divide themselves based on assignment and drive. Those who favor furthering the construction of the city, the architects; those who defend and guide, the navigators; and those who cultivate society, healing the injured and learning the magics and sciences of their creators, the keepers. City here needs to be capitalized. Guide does not need to be. Okay. Many of the city's artisanal architects will forge their hands into hammers and chisels, while the builders and miners will often have multiple arms, picks, and implements of efficient construction. The golems who protect the city usually have maps of its many openings carved into their stony visages, alongside runes showing their position within the city's hierarchy. Actually, we don't need to call that out here. Just because it's implied that all of them would, so to just specifically call that out there is odd. The more militant often brandish shields and weapons, while others carry tools for navigation, observation, and research. The Keepers Guild is populated by golems with a penchant for the arcane sciences. They were the first to harness the dust seas as a tool for restoration, and the ones known to practice the runes, signs, and sigils left behind by mages. These golems are also the keepers of the local flora and fauna in the city, plants that decorate and illuminate the caverns, as well as smaller saurians willing to smaller saurians willing to live peacefully among the tunnels. Yeah, Okay, so we have. So yeah, I feel good about that here. So then we can just kind of nest that paragraph there. Okay, so we've hit cultures, flora and fauna. We've talked about society here. We have mentioned a little bit about art, though it's more utilitarian art in just having navigable maps. We've talked about different creative expressions as far as body plans and forms of golems there, so I feel like that definitely counts as art. Politics, we have different guilds, castes, different elements of society here. Economics, I don't think that they would care about economics here. Religion, absolutely. We talked about the usefulness of the dust seas and the kind of connection to the arcane and to their mortal creators that they have there. And military, we've got the navigators. So cool. Notable features and locations. I mean, the City of Tunnels in and of itself is a notable feature and location. We've talked about lots of different regions here in the wastes. That's good there. Things to do and plot hooks. I think we have laid groundwork here. Things to do would probably be like try and find entrances to the city. Plot hooks might involve finding either slain navigators or having areas where maybe the dust seas have dried up. I think we have laid areas about that there. We don't really have any myths about the area, which I feel is an area where we can do better. Let's see here. What would this be? Mythological. I don't know. I think we're in a good spot here, but if we can think of something, we'll come back to it and add that. Okay. Let's see here. Dust seas. Lands where former life has been turned to stone and eroded or rent into dust. Typically hallowed spaces for mortal beings. Remains of thousands of adventures might have ended up. Religious position within the golems. Craft new life, stitching fallen ones back together, creating one anew. Underground regions primarily originate in the waste, but have grown to expand beneath the whole of the city. Yep. Ant colonies, primarily populated by golems and small saurians. Yes. Everything there is good, so we can just go ahead and move that up there. Alright. Here, I need to stretch my legs for just a quick second, so I'm gonna jump to my be right back screen for about 2 minutes or at the most here, and then I will be right back, and then we will jump into the Titan's Throne. So yeah, I will see you guys in just 1 second. Alright, let's jump right back into things here. Yes, need my small keyboard mouse here. Boom, there we go. Alright. Thank you for letting me take that quick second to stretch my legs. Alright. Alright. So, let's go ahead and start talking about the tyrant here. As Dol Tarkatu. Dol. Not Dol. Okay, so, known to the locals as Tarkatu, which translates almost directly to Stone Dragon Warden, the Tyrant of Terraneus. You have to make sure I have proper spelling maintenance there. Has more than earned its reputation. Titan is a tyrant. It's a tyrant striking down against intelligent life and species that evolve, come about, that make their presence upon the planet known. Collectives don't usually make it further than hamlets and small town. Hamlets, small towns. Further than before drawing tyrants' attention and stony breath. Legends state that the hang on. How would we know that this happened? Like, the implication is that the Titan of Tyranneus might have come from space or something else and crashed into the area that is known as the Titan's Throne. This is its nest. This is where it exists and like lives. How would we be able to say that as a form of legend thing? Would we be able to infer that due to the shape, like due to the hollowed out hole within these mountains here? Yeah, I think that's the way we have to go with this here. That the Titan fell to the earth. From the heavens. Leaving a crater of minerals and resources, not resources and minerals of no known world. Crater of not minerals of no known world. This crater. This crater of treasures. Of no known world. This impact carved out for the tyrant a seat within the highest mountains of Tyranneus. Where two massive subcontinents have been colliding and pushing stone from seafloor, not seafloor. What's the phrase? Sea level. Yeah, from pushing stone from sea level, sky to sea level. Yeah. Hello, Horlepa. Happy to have you. Yeah. Pushing stone from sea level to sky. Maybe we don't need to even say that. Yep, still on the Earth realm here. we have previously, earlier in the stream here, talked about kind of the petrified wastes here, the city of tunnels, and so right now we are working on kind of, for all intents and purposes, the boss realm here, the Titan's throne, the Tyrant's throne. In the Mountains of Tyranneus, it can retreat, or it can look out over its dominion. How about that, Tyrant's Heart? Yes. I know just yes is not useful there. I think I'm going to keep the name here as Throne. However, one of the things that I am planning on mentioning here is one of the things we were talking about last time, where I think it was you who had mentioned maybe the whole world is one giant elemental. And so I want to allude to that being, if not a reality, definitely a possibility here. As our Titan, our king, our tyrant here, has learned of some connection to it and is maybe enhancing or drawing upon that slumbering Archon's power. Archon's power within the planet to kind of, further itself. Yes, get out over its dominion. So let's see here. Many of these stories are based on the unusual geometry of the... Wait a moment, did we just create the living planet from Guardians of the Galaxy? Not necessarily, though that was something that I was kind of floating as an earlier draft of this elemental plane. I don't necessarily know if like the planet is like a head or like a consciousness, but like it could just be some sort of large earthen sort of creature that has just kind of fallen asleep or like is bound up or like controlled either maybe at the planet's core or something of that nature. And we're still kind of in the draft stage there, but it like this could be our whatchamacallit, the big CR30 D&D guy. Terax. No, oh my gosh. Why am I all of a sudden blanking on its name? Tarask, that's it. Yeah. Like this could be like we could have maybe the Tarask. Actually, that would be a good way to incorporate that into the mythology here. Like maybe some odd geometry here is just spines of the Tarask that have, cropped out of the ground and are just now mistaken as stone or other structures here. Yes. Yeah, I think we'll, like, this is a planet-sized Tarask, and because it is so large, it requires food, and it doesn't have enough food to nourish itself, and so it is just kind of here. It can't grow. It can't really act without waking or destroying it, but it also can't act because it won't have enough energy to. Kaiju physics and like biology is it's a bit annoying, but yeah, stalagmites as grass would be cool. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 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 Of the two arching spines. Archings. Biologists. And what? Biologist and monster. Tend toward comparing these mountains to arching spines. While mineral, and what earthen scholars, scholars of and mineral scientists are, and like I feel like we're getting a little bit into modern sciences here. Recognize the structure and weird idea. The tyrant have captured a Tarask and cut apart to regularly feast upon to feast the petrified flesh to the realm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, that way it could stay, can be active. That way it can, be an agent and a driving force within the world. I do like that. The only part I'd have question there is if we are having our tyrant here constantly attacking or consuming pieces of this Tarask, of this world creature, I feel like that might run the risk of waking it up, of invoking its wrath. So, but I do like that idea as a way for our tyrant to be a more active force. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have. So right now we have a nest. We've got treasures here, so that we have a goal for adventures and such here. We have myth about the area of that the tyrant crashed into this land. art, politics, economics, religion, or military. Are there other creatures here who live within the tyrant's throne? Is this where we could introduce something like kobolds that serve our dragon? Which is an interesting idea. Kobolds, I feel like they get nested into the sort of kindred species, which is Sylvan and Daevon, so that's going to be Fey stuff. What other kind of classic draconic servitors are there? It's an old idea about how to use a Tarrasque as something other than a kaiju. The idea was that the Tarrasque is caged under a filthy rich city, makes its money by selling Tarrasque parts and threatening the surrounding regions to release it if they don't do what they want. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, on one hand, yeah, the pitch here then would be just that on a large scale, which, I mean, I'm not opposed to. It's a fun story. Okay, so how can we allude to something along that line? Let's see here. Well, one of the things we were talking about earlier that we didn't really do much with. Fun thing about the Tarrasque is that it is canonically one of the few ways to permanently kill a god. I mean, cool. A judicious amount of god slaying is always welcome to any sort of D&D style campaign. I find, at least. So, yeah. One of the things that we were talking about and didn't really do much with last time was this sort of notion of maybe staying on this land in and of itself just kind of begins turning like people to stone. Like, granted, we have the petrifying breath of our tyrant. However, walk with me here. The tyrant's throne here is kind of at the center of the majority of kind of a petrified forest. Like, the area around it is fully petrified, just due to perhaps attacks and the like. One of the things that we could do here, if we're implying that, our tyrant is kind of making its home, making its nest upon the back of an even larger creature that exists either as or within the whole of the planet. Maybe it's under a spell. Like, maybe it doesn't wake up because it is slumbering. Maybe not even, like, of its own will. Like, maybe some other creature here has it slumbering, like under a sleep spell. For me, the gods are so outside the story that an interaction with them is seen as a wonder. If you hold the world together, you have better things to do than small talk with ants. I mean, yeah, absolutely. The only thing we would run into, like, if we have this sort of perpetual spell that as like a creature approaches the Tarrasque, that they start to kind of fall asleep or become weak to the magic that is holding and binding it down. What happens then? Why is that not affecting our tyrant? Maybe it is, and it's just not enough. Well, I mean, because that would just mean our tyrant is kind of nerfed, which, like, the default way that people would interact with them is them being nerfed to them. Which is, in my opinion, pretty funny. Okay. Arcanists and researchers. And planar researchers have attempted to journey to the tyrant's throne on many occasions. Could be a really vicious sealing spell. Trask vitality to erase its flesh, to creep it into a perpetual near-death state. The closest thing to actually killing it. Yes. Yeah. That is... I think that's where I'm going with this. So, the tyrant itself. When not intercepted and slain or petrified, these researchers found difficulty in reaching the throne's summit, as a pervasive enchantment seems to ensorcel the region. Driving, causing what? Maybe. Also, that should definitely be a necromantic spell. Oh yeah, like my thought process here is this is either sleep or like a feigned death sort of thing, where like sleep is just gonna be keeping it asleep here, or like feigned death is just like it is maybe a gentle repose, but like the creature's still alive, so. Something along those lines. But, like, yeah, this is 100% some sort of necromancy. Causing, creatures of weaker will to stumble sleep or become catatonic through some form of divine necromancy. Through some form of divine necromancy, like, I feel like that gives it, like, that gives away the game, that there is some sort of divine force here that has sealed this. Well, hang on. Let's see if we can work away from that point here to have details, so that way we can couch this very specific point in a lot more narrative. That way, the more narrative we have, the less this is going to feel like an outlying specific there. Maybe sealed with a Reaper Scythe. Perhaps, yeah. Let's see here. So we've talked about this as sort of just an end goal, an end region. World. This impact curve. So we look at this tyrant. We look at the Tyrant of Terraneus as actually let's one thing that we haven't done here is we haven't described the tyrant itself. So we can do that here. We can actually have like a real description of this creature. So that way we can kind of hide some of these lore-based mythological facts into the description here. Okay, so there we go. A colossal dragon-like being. So yeah, this is going to be a gemstone style dragon. It's going to have large crystalline spikes and kind of armor built off of its form here. I'm keeping that it has multiple heads. Like I'm thinking that this might be my settings version of like a Tiamat, maybe. The six-winged gargoyle. On one hand, I'm thinking maybe I feel like if we're going to have a lot of repetitive structures on this creature, I don't want to do like multiple heads, multiple wings, multiple tails, or something along those lines. So I'm thinking I might just keep it to heads. But like, I adore multi-winged dragons. Like if we're talking like how to train your dragon, my favorite dragon is Cloudjumper by far. I love the sort of X-wing design. I love the two sets of interlate of wings. Just fantastic design of a creature. I adore it. Bringer of the Gemstone Rain. That sounds sick. Hang on a second. I'm just gonna kind of make a note there here. colossal dragon-like being. With 2 wings. What? It has 2 wings, each size of... Alright, yeah, Jade Dragon? I mean, yeah. Ooh, hang on. If we do kind of a kind of oxidizing copper look, so we can get a bit of gold and a bit of green, with a bit with these like large crystalline protrusions. I mean, I think that would be pretty sick looking. There's 2 wings, each the size of cities. Each the size of cities on like the prime material plane is not a useful description. It has 2 wings. Dragon who earth elemental from mountainside, whole cave system running through him. Man, that is super cool. That is super cool. Okay. So I've got to here. Is a colossal dragon. When it stands, it reaches. When it stands, it can look out over the world of through the peaks of its throne. Could also fit well with the Age of Mating. I mean, yeah. Ooh, I will not use. Yeah, you absolutely use a dragon that has a cave system running through. Like, I love creatures that have environments built upon them within them. I know I did that with creatures from the elemental plane of water on that stream that I did, where we kind of did the dragon turtles or the lion turtles from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and so they have these islands upon their back. But a dragon that has a full cave system running through it, so you can kind of see how old it is based on how intricate and networked this stony pattern is across them. That's super cool. Like, one of the things that I think Marvel did a really good job of, as far as their design process for their Galactus in the recent Fantastic Four, is that it is so massive, and its armor, its being, is textured in such a way that it looks like cities and worlds, and just like it's so big it has maybe civilizations living upon it. Now granted that's not exactly how that being works usually, and because the size changer, etc., but like the idea of a planet destroying monster that has worlds on it, that like once again, it doesn't really care about it. It gives this very sort of cosmic horror sense of like, we are just ticks living on the back of a giant thing. And so yeah, I think that is a super cool idea. As hill turtles, in every 200 to 300 years, they wake up and mate inside a specific location, the Swamp of Ruins. It became a joke that the shop did go on a date with the villa from the other side of the city. Okay. I see what you're going with there. Yeah. Nice. Nice. When it stands, it can look out over the world through the peaks of its throne. When it flies, its wings cast shadows across continents. Dragon's body is covered in large copper-colored scales that oxidized to into a kind of, would it be a jade green? Yeah. Jade green at the edges. The dragon is similarly covered in a mantle of it just happens so rare that, except the elven druids, most people think it's a myth or rambling from horny old men instead of a warning. Yeah, the giant hill turtles wake up and head to specific locations to mate. Like, yeah, no, if you're only going to be around for what, 70 years or so, like, you can have a generation or two within that period who just are going to completely miss anything about it. So it's just like, yeah, village has always been where it is. It's always going to be here. No need to worry. The world is a completely safe and understandable location. And then all of a sudden it gets up, walks around, and everyone loses their mind. But yeah, I feel like that's a great way to have the longevity by elves and druids and those sort of species with longer lifespans to, you know, be able to share in the world building and share in the understanding of the age of the world. And a mantle of glowing crystals. Spanning its shoulders and back. Shoulders and back. Shoulders down to its tail. And even encrusting parts of mantle of glowing crystals that seem to what? The creature's temperament. Doesn't seem like the right way to do that. Let me make sure that that's... Oh yeah, absolutely. At any given time. So here, let's go. There's such a huge problem that maps must be redrawn again and again. Hey, I mean, it's job security for your cartographers. If the cities are gonna get up and walk away, like, you'll be able to have generations of people who are always trying to create new world maps and create more accurate ones, only for, you know, the turtles to move again. So here, let's go ahead and read back what we've written on the Tyrant's Throne here. See if it makes sense to do a little bit of editing here. Known to the locals as Do Tarakatu, which translates almost directly to Stone Dragon Warden, the Titan of Tyranneus has more than earned its reputation as a tyrant, striking down against intelligent life and species that make their presence upon the planet known. Collectives don't usually make it further than hamlets or small towns before drawing the tyrant's attention and stony breath. Legends state that the Titan fell to earth from the heavens, leaving a crater of treasures and minerals of no known world. This impact carved out for the tyrant a seat within the highest mountains of Tyranneus, where it can look out over its dominion. Many of these stories are based on the unusual geometry of the spires, as biologists and monster hunters tend toward comparing these mountains to arching spines. Arcanists and planar researchers have attempted to journey to the Tyrant's Throne on many occasions. When not intercepted and slain or petrified, these researchers found difficulty in reaching the throne's summit, as a pervasive enchantment seems to ensorcel the region, causing creatures of weaker will to stumble and fall asleep, or become catatonic through some form of divine necromancy. And then now the creature himself, Do Tarakatu, the Tyrant of Tyranneus. The Titan of Tyranneus is a colossal three-headed dragon. When it stands, it can look out over the world through the peaks of its throne. When it flies, its wings cast shadows across continents. The dragon's body is covered in large copper-colored scales that have oxidized into a rough jade at the edges. The dragon is covered in a mantle of glowing crystals that seem to reflect the creature's temperament at any given time. Alright, so I think we're in a good spot there, but, like, I want more. Do Tarakatu is a jealous king. They rule over the land of Tyranneus. With what? With an iron will. Suggestion: he was a five-headed dragon and lost two of them through unknown reasons. That's... ooh. Oh. That... oh, hang on. I really like that. I really like that. Like, my thought process here is maybe, like, the mantle here is covering, like, the stumps or something like that. Idea stolen from Elden Ring. Hey. Great world building there, too. Like, I have definitely not beaten Elden Ring, but I greatly enjoy the world that was created there for it. Like, it felt like a really cool setting. Like, maybe this mantle that it has with all of these kind of crystalline spikes is covering up its battle damage. I do like that. You've never played it? Hey, fair. I mean, fair. Souls-like games are not for everyone. honestly, Elden Ring was my first time trying to play that style of game, and while I enjoyed a lot of the more open world aspects to it, I'm not going to pretend I wasn't frustrated at, a lot of learning the mechanics and kind of just getting on board with the nature and like culture that is built into Souls games. Yeah, no, oh man. The mantle covers his neck stumps and the scars on his back. Absolutely. Like, that is such good drama that the question is how to incorporate that. How to write that into here. But yes, absolutely. Like, a series of scars across his back. Yeah. So we can clearly see he lost his heads while something did go out. Like, yeah. Like, something has happened to this guy. I love having like this built-in history to the creature. Like, oh. We might never know what it is, but like, whatever it is, it's out there somewhere. And right now, it has found its place here on this world, and it is exerting its domain. It has its dominion here. It is exerting presence. It is controlling the environment. Terraneus is its throne. But out there, it is maybe out there, our tyrant is maybe just a small creature. You don't need to explain everything. Let the player speculate. Absolutely. I'm just trying to think of ways to allude to some of those things. Honestly, I feel like we're beginning to explain a lot more. So I feel like we're probably going to need to edit this down a bit, which is fine. Nip off some of the pieces that are either too extraneous in one way or another. But like, man. Yeah. Oh. Maybe the generator is simply his blood that still leaks out from under the mantle, a wound that still has not yet closed. I think that's the way we. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think that's it. Covered in a mantle of glowing crystals. Over its shoulders and down its back. At a given time. Yeah, Gem rain. Maybe fragments of crystals, fragments of this sort of cosmic divine dust or something of the sort, mixed with blood. Yeah. Yes. Wise. And bring with them the gem gem rain. A dusting of crystal fragments. Also that would be a really cool Souls-like boss. Oh yeah. Dusting of crystal fragments from its mantle. A dusting of ruby red crystal fragments from its mantle. There we go. Jealous King, Iron Will. Yeah. I think if we're going to do that, I think we might want to just kind of cut this bit here with the sort of divine necromantic spell. That is going to kind of do that. Can we give him a glass dust breath? I don't see why not. I'm not really working on stat blocks right now, but I think one thing that hang on. Let me make a note here. When we create a stat block for him, have specific abilities tied to each of his heads. Have 2 abilities that are offline at the start to reflect the missing heads. Perhaps this is a creature that does not enter a combat scenario at full health. Perhaps this is a creature that has never gotten to, fully heal, and so whenever we put it into a combat scenario, it is already entering here bloodied. The creature is immune to the bloodied condition because that is its natural state. There we go. Simple, a breath weapon that gives disadvantage for every kind of healing. Reason is the glass is stuck in the wound and must first be removed before it can heal without reopening. Yeah. There we go. Okay, yeah. From its oh man, this is yes. Yeah. Let's see here. What else? Ooh. Sorry, I'm just looking at the clock right now, and it is a bit later than I was anticipating. I've got to run to the store. Dang. Yeah, I think I've got to call it here. Oh, man. Like, man, you're on a good roll there. Let me see if I can come back later tonight. But I think I've got to go run to the store and get dinner cooking for my girlfriend and I. Thankfully, it shouldn't be too hard, but man, we are making good headway. We are making great progress. Thank you so much, Hoylepa, for bouncing ideas around here. It's always a pleasure to have you. Druids Union, I know you were here earlier, and I'm not sure if you're still lurking, but thank you so much for all of the ideas and for coming and chatting and hanging out. I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. If not, hopefully later today, probably in a couple days' time. So, thank you guys so much, and take care.